few weeks ago, President Biden nominated Tracy Stone-Manning to be able to lead the Bureau of Land Management. Now, many people in my state don't know much about the Bureau of Land Management, so we don't have a lot of area that's actually managed in our state by BLM. It has more than 10,000 employees. It manages roughly an eighth of the nation's land, including 65 million acres of our forests. The land holds 30% of our minerals. And whoever leads this entity not only leads the issue of how we're managing our forests, how we're handling our minerals, how we're handling our energy development, livestock grazing, recreation, and yes, timber harvesting. The individual that President Biden nominated, we now know, was an Earth-first eco-terrorist. She actually typed out, as she has admitted in the past, a threatening letter that was sent out to leaders that were doing mining or doing forestry in Idaho, saying in her letter that she typed out, and she has admitted that she typed out the threatening letter, that we, as she put it, drove 500 pounds of spikes into the trees in the Idaho forest and then threatened them to say, if you harvest those trees, it will not be good for you. The challenge that we have here is that we have an individual that has admitted that she actually was a part of a group to do tree spiking. Now, what we don't know is if she actually drove the spikes. We have no idea, but we do know that she turned evidence on the other people that did, had admitted as a part of our plea bargain that she's the one that actually did the letter from a rented typewriter to be able to make sure she couldn't be traced. And even in the letter said, if you find me, it'd be your worst nightmare. So what do we do about this? Typically, when you're going to deal with the person who handles forestry for the United States and the Bureau of Land Management, and you find out this person has been involved in tree spiking, which would actually is designed to injure or kill people that are logging or people that are actually harvesting the lumber in the sawmills and actually processing those lumbers, it would cause a pause. I cannot imagine what it's going to be if she's actually confirmed in this position and the individuals that come to her to get a permit to be able to do any kind of forestry work, that they would have to actually come to her office, what they would think when they actually walk through the door. Because the Bureau of Land Management notices timber sales and signs off on the timber sales for the country. Bureau of Land Management is the one who makes forest product sale plans. The Bureau of Land Management is the one who develops, maintains, and revises the plans for all public management, including identifying areas for timber sales. In fact, the Bureau of Land Management is also the group that sends in the firefighters and wildfires to be able to put out the fires, which could be including some of these same trees in the days ahead that apparently still have the spikes in them from decades ago. Understanding this is not just a loose issue. Individuals from the Biden administration just recently have talked about timber harvesters and haulers are critical to forest management across the country. We need these individuals to be able to help with our forest management. We have wildfires in areas that individuals in the Biden administration have testified because we're actually not maintaining our forest management enough. We're not doing enough harvesting and thinning in those areas, and so it's actually a problem. In fact, Christopher French, the Deputy Chief for the National Forest System, recently testified the Forest Service research indicates we need to dramatically increase the extent and impact of fuels treatment, such as thinning, harvesting, planting, and prescribed burning across all landscapes. But yet the leader for the Bureau of Land Management that has been recommended is an individual that has been outspoken in opposition, so much so that she's been active and actually promoting spiking trees. And it's not just spiking trees. It's also been her environmental issues about grazing land. Understanding the Bureau of Land Management is responsible for millions of acres of grazing pasture land across the West. Because the federal government owns so much land across the West, many ranchers actually then lease out some of that land for grazing. She's been outspoken as an opponent against this. That's not going to help our ranchers across the West. And what was most stark to me was this presentation that she had years ago. where she designed several what she considered to be environmental-focused advertisements, this being one of them, where she has a picture of a young girl, and the heading is, "Can you find the environmental hazard in this photo?" And then she lists out at the bottom of it, that's right, it's the cute baby is the environmental hazard. With this statement below it that she wrote, "We breed more than any other industrialized nation." Listen, I understand every president has the right to be able to pick their team. But when the leader of the Bureau of Land Management considers this little girl to be an environmental hazard, have we not crossed a threshold of saying our problem with our environment is that we have too many little girls? Honestly, is anyone else disturbed by this as a possibility to be able to lead the Bureau of Land Management, to make decisions about how we're going to manage our forest, how we're going to manage our grazing land, and what's going to be the general attitude about permitting and people? Because apparently, from what she wrote, one of the biggest environmental hazards we have as a country is we breed too much. I don't think that little girl is a hazard. I think it's a little girl. And I will absolutely oppose Tracy Stone-Manning to be able to lead the Bureau of Land Management. And I would ask my colleagues, even one of my colleagues on the other side, to be able to say, do you not see a problem with this nominee? If so, let's find another person. Surely there is another Democrat out there that doesn't have this set of views, that can lead our forestry, our grazing area, our minerals rights. Surely there's one more Democrat that's out there somewhere that does not share these views. Because I don't think that little girl's a hazard. I think she's a blessing. With that, I yield the floor.